Hey guys, welcome back to Oak Abode. As you probably guessed from the title, this video is going to be a little bit different today. Not really talking about a lot of home improvement projects because obviously I caught the coronavirus. I was really debating whether or not to do a video about it, but the bottom line is that I know that I have been searching for a lot of information on coronavirus, and when I was coming down with COVID-19, I wasn't sure if my symptoms kind of were along the lines of what to expect, just because there's such a wide range of information and testimonials out there. So I just thought that I would share my story so that anybody else who has a similar experience can hopefully spot it a little bit earlier on than I did, because I didn't really think that I had it. I'm probably gonna blog about this, so as usual, I'll link that blog post below. But I want to start out by saying I am obviously not a medical professional. Everything I'm going to tell you guys is just telling my personal experience and some of the things that I've used that have helped me feel a little bit more comfortable in this process. But obviously nothing I'm about to say is medical advice. Talk to your doctor. That's all I'll say about that. I'm posting this video after the fact, by the way. I'm not going to post this video while I'm still in that quarantine period. So this is not necessarily real time. Anyways, without further ado, I'm just going to tell you guys day by day exactly what symptoms I felt, because it changed a lot depending on the day, okay? Okay, so day one for me, I felt 100% fine when I woke up. And a little bit later in the day, I started feeling achy. So it was probably about 4 or 5 hours after I woke up, I started feeling achy, and I just thought that this was because I had deadlifted a few days before, and I haven't really been very consistent with my workouts recently, so I thought that I was just super sore from deadlifting, and it was just some delayed onset muscle soreness. So I spent the first few hours just really achy, uncomfortable, and like, you know, dang, this stinks, but also like deadlift will do it to your legs, it'll do it to your back, it'll do it to even upper body. So I wasn't all that surprised. I'll try not to go into too much detail because it'll take forever, but the achiness basically got worse, and along with the achiness, I started getting some chills, and I have felt kind of flu-like from like really bad leg days before, but I don't think I'd ever actually gotten chills. So the chills were kind of after the achiness. The chills were like the first indicating factor that I was probably actually sick. Now it's kind of weird because I didn't really, other than the aching muscles and the chills, I didn't really feel sick in any other way. No congestion, I didn't have any sort of queasiness. It was literally just aches and chills. And that was day one. And then day two was the same thing, just aches and chills. And the achiness was pretty bad. By kind of the middle to the latter part of day two is when I started kind of feeling nauseous along with the aches and chills. So day one, some onset of aches and chills, and literally it happened within hours. Like I was completely fine in the morning, and then day two was just kind of worsening of aches and chills, and then some nausea as well. And day two was kind of, let me see. Yes, day two is when I went and I got tested, because that first day I just thought it was soreness from working out. So day two, got my test, but obviously I wasn't going to get that back for a while. Day three, what I experienced was I started experiencing a runny nose, and that was along with the aches and chills, but the aches and chills kind of actually started to go away. When I woke up on day three, if it weren't for the runny nose, I would have thought that I was getting better. So I didn't kind of have as much as the flu-like symptoms, but I did start to get a really runny nose, and I just felt like I had a cold. So I was just blowing my nose constantly. At this point, I was obviously isolating. I have some family across the country that kind of had it like a week or two before I did. So at that point I was texting with them, and they were telling me, okay, here's what we use that made us feel better. But I hadn't gotten a positive result yet. But by the time I had that super runny nose, I kind of figured that there was a really good chance that I had COVID-19. So day three, I had reduced aches and chills, but I had a really runny nose. Day four rolled around, and I would say day four was probably the worst, just because what happened was that runny nose turned into a just totally stuffed up nose. Like I was just completely congested, could not breathe through my nose at all. And this is also the day that I lost my smell and my taste. And that surprised me, because I had read that a lot of times losing smell and taste was one of the first symptoms that people notice with COVID-19. For me, that didn't happen until day four. So I started to lose smell and taste, and I was kind of like you know, oh, this is freaky, this is weird, I hate it. But I actually like, this just shows how food motivated I am, because to me, the worst part about coronavirus is the fact that I can't smell or taste anything. Like all those things that normally bring you comfort if you're down or if you're sick, like lighting a candle or making comfort food or essential oils, like you can't enjoy any of that. And it's really kind of a bummer. That's a huge rant. And obviously it goes without saying, I'm extremely fortunate in that my COVID-19 up until now, a week later, so far, knock on wood, has only been basically a bad cold. So I'm not trying to make light of people who struggle to breathe and have a really bad cough. I'm just saying for me, I can deal with aches and chills, I can deal with congestion, but not having any sense of taste or smell is really kind of like driving me crazier than one might expect. But anyways, day 4 is when I lost my sense of taste and smell, and that's also when I was just super duper congested. I should add, I was taking my temperature starting with day 1, when I just was really achy and getting those chills is when I started taking my temperature, and I never got a fever. My temperature never went over like 98.7, I want to say. It was never even to 99. So day 1, 2, 3, 4, no fever, lost smell and taste, and just a lot of congestion. So what happened on day 5 was my nose went from being incredibly congested back to like kind of runny, but not as runny as day 3, weirdly, but it was just kind of like a mix between congestion and runniness, and I still could not smell or taste at that point. And on day 4, I was probably like 80% of my smell and taste was gone, and by day 5 is completely gone. I can still taste bitter, salty, sweet, and maybe like some, like I can kind of taste like savory. It's hard to explain, but I can't get like the essence of any flavors. I don't taste the orange or the chocolate. I just taste like rich. So that's kind of a tangent. For some reason, I thought if I were to lose my smell and taste, it would be like I was eating something and I wouldn't be able to tell what it was. I can still tell what it is when I'm eating it, but I just don't get any of like the aromatics, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm saying that right. So next, day 6 rolled around, and that was yesterday, and I will say day 6 was kind of the first day that I started to feel human again, like kind of functional, and like, okay, I can get up, I can get dressed, and I like actually want to get stuff done. Up until day 6, I had been just binge watching Game of Thrones, which is so gross in the first place. I don't recommend doing that while you're sick. But yesterday, day 6, still couldn't smell or taste, but did start to do things again. Was congested, but not like totally plugged up or like totally runny nose, just kind of in between. And that kind of leaves us where I am today, day 7, which is still, I'm like congested, my voice doesn't sound great, but I feel a lot more functional and human than I did on days 1 through 5. So I would say day 5 to 6 was kind of the turning point for me. I don't know what's normal or what's average, but that's just my experience thus far. I should add, my mom sent me one of those oxygen readers that goes on your finger too, because she was worried when I got my positive test result. I think I got my positive test result around day 4 or 5. I think it was day 5. So she sent me that, and when I got that, I never went below 98%. I personally never experienced any shortness of breath, and as far as a cough goes, I have like an occasional cough. Like I'll maybe wake up once in the middle of the night coughing, just like super dry, and then I'll just chug water. And then once everything loosens up, I just go back to sleep. And then during the day, coughing is occasional, but it's definitely not a cough. I would actually say I got like some kind of flu bug. It probably was the flu last year. I got a bad cough for at least a couple weeks. So that's kind of another weird symptom. If I hadn't gotten tested, I probably wouldn't think I have coronavirus, because I don't really have a cough, I don't have shortness of breath, and I never had a fever. And that's kind of why I decided I wanted to put this video out there, because I think definitely like a lot of people experience those symptoms, but there are probably a lot who don't have those exact symptoms as well. And I definitely know I'm glad that I isolated from my more vulnerable family members early on, because the last thing I would want to do is think that because I don't have a cough or fever in the early stages that I must not have COVID-19. So I definitely spent my fair share of time on Google, and because of that, I decided to play it safe rather than sorry and isolate pretty early on. And I'm glad that I did. So that kind of sums up my symptoms up until day 7. I'm feeling pretty good now. Obviously, I still have at least a week more of isolating to do before I can go out again, but hopefully in a couple days here I'll be feeling even better. I guess the last thing that I would add that is pretty darn important for COVID-19 specifically, more so maybe even than other sicknesses, is that it's important to have somebody look out for you and be able to drop stuff off for you, because you can't leave, and most of us don't have everything that we needed right at home. I did not have a humidifier, so if you're like me and you don't like asking for help, I really recommend getting over it and asking for help, because this would be something that is pretty miserable to just suffer through. You're gonna need somebody to bring you stuff. So like I said, I feel very fortunate in that it's pretty much just been a cold for me, a cold to a bad cold. I wouldn't even say, I think the cold I had last year was even worse, but you know, it's important to keep people who are vulnerable safe, and because of that, I wanted to just kind of share my symptoms, my timeline of COVID symptoms, because, you know, they were so different than everything you hear on the news, and really that, you know, when you go places, they ask you, do you have a cough? Do you have a fever? GI issues? I didn't have any of those. So I just think it's important for people to know that this virus can manifest itself in different ways, and to keep that in mind when you are considering who you are exposing yourself to. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for bearing with me through this video. We would love if you would say hi, leave a comment below. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, we would love if you would hit that subscribe button so that you can join us again in the future. Ian is still working on some projects in the garage, so we will still be putting out a few more videos soon. If you guys have experienced COVID or similar sicknesses, I would love if you would leave your tips for other people below too, so that we can all get through this together. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.